chef, I've been cooking and teaching globally, but now my focus is 100% on you, the incredible caregiver. You don't have time for complicated recipes? I'm taking all my world-class knowledge and turning it into fast, easy, nourishing meals that fit your busy schedule. We're cutting the stress, boosting the flavor. Let's cook something amazing right now. Holidays are coming. Time to start getting nervous. Everybody starts panicking around the holidays. Things tend to get forgotten. People tend to miss things. The stress. Give yourself a break. You prepare these feasts a couple of times a year. It's the same dishes that we've had year after year after year. Everybody enjoys it. It's the memories, it's the social, it's the seeing loved ones we haven't seen in a while, remembering loved ones that are no longer with us, telling stories. It's not just about the food, although the food plays a key role in it. It's one meal a year and it has to be perfect. And chefs that only prepare one meal a year still have the same problems you do. Yet if we prepare the meal over and over and over again, we don't have a problem with it. So you're preparing a meal once a year, which means that you need to have a plan. And we're going to talk about that. And we're going to talk about steps to take, plans to take. We're going to talk about some rules. We're going to talk about the safety and sanitation, our thermometers coming back. But this episode, we're going to talk turkey. And to do that, there's a bunch of things that we're going to have to do ahead of time and plan out and prepare and get things in a schedule of when they come in. And so you're gonna write a schedule, and we're gonna lay all that out along the side here as you're going along. Stop, take notes, see what you've got, see what you're doing. We're not really going to the grocery store on this one because you're going to be getting a turkey from us here at Caresify. And the side dishes, we're going to talk about a side dish that everybody seems to love, but everybody seems to struggle with. They're super easy. It's mashed potatoes. I've got a foolproof recipe for you. And then we're going to take and make some glazed carrots, which are high in vitamins, high in nutrients. We're going to glaze it with a little bit of some maple syrup and some toasted pecans on top. Very simple items, but give yourself a break. Don't tell everybody it's going to be at 1:30 if you're not sure. I always tell them 1:30-ish. Dinner will be served at 1:30-ish. And if you tell them 1:30-ish and your meal isn't ready until 2:45, so be it. Next year, nobody's going to talk about, do you remember last year when they had this meal and it was 45 minutes late? Can you believe it? No, they're not going to do that. They're going to be excited that you made the meal. They're going to be excited to come over and see you. And if you communicate with them that, hey, this is taking a little longer, I can't remember how many times I heard my grandmother, the lady who inspired me to become a chef, would come out and say, it's going to be a few more minutes because this isn't done or that's not done. And everybody was very understanding of it. So we're talking turkey today. We're talking food safety. Remember our thermometers. If you didn't get your thermometer yet, might want to grab one. I'm not going to do a grocery trip on this one, but we are going to do a walkthrough of some things that should be done in the kitchen. We're going to learn about how our oven works. We're going to learn about the right pans. We're going to learn how to do some stovetop stuff that maybe we might do in an oven otherwise, but we're going to do it on top of the stove to save some oven space. And the outcome is going to be something that you can be very, very proud of. So let's get cooking. Let's talk turkey. We've taken our turkey out of the bag in the sink. There's usually a lot of moisture coming out of that. We've given it a nice quick rinse in the sink as well. The rinse is more or less to just take any of that excess moisture off, some of the residue that was in there, maybe even some of the blood, but not something that we need to get crazy in scrubbing it down. It's just kind of rinsing anything extra off. We're going to talk about this real quick. This is gosh, I don't know how old this is. I remember seeing this as a kid. So it's got to be over 50 years old. This technique. Water boils at 212 degrees. It starts steaming at 180 degrees. So what this is this is a little probe that has some water in it. When that water gets hot enough to start steaming at 180 degrees, it pops up, which means that everything else in here is at 180 degrees or higher. Now, the problem with that is that it is going to bring off a lot of the moisture, and we don't want that to happen, which is why we need to make sure we have our handy dandy thermometer. I just came from the store, saw them on the shelf there for about $7. Do not buy the metal probe ones that have the little dial on top. They're garbage. This is what you want. So then we've also taken and mixed in some granulated garlic, 1 part granulated garlic, 1 part pepper, 1 part or 2 parts salt. That's our little mix. Remember this, we have our mix up here of our fresh herbs. This we can ignore because we're going to be using this. So we're going to pop that out. I just think that's a waste of time. Oh, and ignore our little friend here who has suddenly shown up. I have a very curious Siamese kitten, so she is now coming around to check out what we're doing. I apologize, but you know, it's the house, it's the way the pets are. This should already come trussed right here, so we're going to leave that on. We're not going to bother it. What we are going to do though is take these wings off because these will have a tendency to burn. So we're just going to grab it right there. Take our little kitchen shears. Cut that right off. Cut that side off. The reason we cut that off is because we don't want this when we start to cook. These pieces are going to kind of extend out because the muscles are going to tense up. So we don't want that to happen. We want to keep those separate. A little point to think about. So next, we're going to stuff all of our little bits of stuffing. Oh, wait a minute. Ha! How many times have we forgot to pull this out? We have the neck, and then we have the gizzards. Liver, heart, I don't remember what else is in that little packet. So now that we have a cow, if you're inclined to, go ahead and roast everything with the turkey. So you can put the neck in there, you can put this in there, roast it all off because then you can use it to make your gravy earlier. Just remember to pull it out of the inside because it's going to interfere with the cooking and that's just kind of nasty. So now we're going to try this again. We're going to stuff in our green onions. We're going to stuff in our fresh herbs. Our garlic. I'm going to put that all nice back in there. When I worked for Disney World many years ago, we used to have to do about 2 tons of chicken a day in one of our restaurants, and it was rotisserie chicken, and it was just absolutely ridiculous. But my first job as an apprentice was to cut truss and thyme chickens. So this is in my blood and has been something I have never forgotten how to do. Now, we don't need to peel the onion because we're not going to be eating it. We're just going to be using it as a flavor. We're going to go in a little bit here on the backside as well, just to make sure we get plenty of that flavor in there. And now we've got this bird nice and stuffed. Take our seasoning mix, mix that up, get a good mix on there so that it's kind of a uniform look. It's all thoroughly mixed together. And we're just going to take and liberally sprinkle that on top. Now, you can do research, and there's all kinds of ways to brine and inject and deep fry. And, you know, if you're doing that, you don't need this class. This is just for the folks that either have never done it before or mom used to do it all the time and I never paid attention because I never wanted to. And now you want to have mom's or Nana's Thanksgiving dinner. That is a turkey. That's all you got to do. That's it. Buy some fresh herbs, have some onions, have some garlic, have some salt and pepper. I put a little granulated garlic on mine because I like that garlic flavor in there. It's kind of a nice thing, especially when we have leftovers. We can take and slice this into sandwiches and things like that. It's so simple. It is just so simple. This is it. 350 degrees. Now, the big question is, again, we're removing our gloves that we had on. The question that we get all the time now is, all right, I have it in there. How long do I cook it for? Well, there is a very, very simple, wrong way again. Very simple method. Pounds. How many pounds do you have? Say I have a 10-pound bird. I cook it for 15 minutes per pound at 350 degrees in a standard oven. So 15 times 10 is 150 minutes. So we need about 2.5 hours at 350 degrees. So I'm going to leave this up here for a few minutes. Let us all kind of look at it and read it. Look at it again. 15 minutes per pound at 355 degrees. Again, can't get any simpler than that. So that has been done. We're going to go into the oven now with this, and then we're going to come back a little later, and we will go through and we'll show a temping of where we temp in the meat and what we do with drippings and things like that. We're going to go through that as well. And I see my little assistant chef is back. So we're going to go and get this in the oven. Bye, guys. Okay, let's talk about your oven. Big hot box. You can see we have plenty of room in here. It looks like we've got a ton of room in there. And yet, when we put a big bird, we're going to put a 10+ pound bird in here, it's going to take up a good half of this, which then starts to limit the air circulation around it. So when we put a bigger bird in here and then we start throwing this other stuff in here and then it gets packed, it's going to take a lot longer to cook. So when we start to set up our cooking, we need to think about, when do we want that turkey out? We want it to come out about 30 minutes before we're ready to eat. We're going to take it off to the side, let it rest, wrap it in foil, and we'll talk more about that as we start getting our hands into the bird. But when we talk about our oven, we can't fill the oven up. So if we're looking at taking this bird out about a half hour before we eat, pull it out, wrap it in foil, we'll set it aside, and then you can start throwing other things in there, or you might throw some things in there and then be able to finish them off for the last 30 minutes. So oven management is important. It's one of the founding problems that has confounded chefs for years. Never seem to have enough oven space. But if you manage your oven right, you're going to be just fine. All right, we just temped our turkey. It was about 145 degrees. In one spot, we were pushing a little bit higher on some of the others, but we need to let it finish up. So we got about another half hour before that's done. So this is time when we can start working on our next round of items. So we're going to work on our mashed potatoes, and we're going to work on our glazed carrots. And for the interest in time, we're going to kind of do these a little bit at the same time so we can kind of show you. However, the carrots should be started a little earlier or a little later than that. So we're going to go ahead and get this going. We've put the potatoes in cold water. The reason we put it in the cold water and start it cold and let it come up is because then it's going to heat up a little more evenly through the process rather than throwing it in and letting it shock. The potatoes will cook a little better as well. We salted the water. Water should taste like seawater when you salt it. If you don't want to salt it, or if you have a client or a loved one that doesn't want to see the salt, that's fine. Leave it out, not a problem. We're going to use a little bit more of our seasoning that we used on our turkey as well. So something to think about. We have our carrots ready to go. We have peeled our potato. We brought a little bit of some maple syrup. This was actually made by a local friend of mine here up in the area, but anything that is of a sweet, so honey, maple syrup, something along those lines, that'll be great. So we're going to walk through on some of this, on how to do this. We're going to take care of some other things here. We're going to be right back, but I wanted to get this started to get it up and boiling, and we'll be right back. So it's time. We're getting ready to pull that turkey out. We're going to temp it at its final time. It's been about another half hour since we've had it. Look at that. Very nice. So when we're going to butcher a turkey, butcher, funny word. I used to claim that my uncle would butcher his food by making a mess out of it. But when we go to carve the turkey, we're going to kind of talk through a few things on what we do with that. But first off, let's talk about some temp spots that we want to look at. The way the chicken's anatomy works is that you've got the leg here and the thigh is down in here. This is the breast. Here are the wings. We want to focus on the thickest part. So as the breast comes up, it gets thinner up here, it's thicker down here. The dark meat tends to be thicker and takes a little longer to cook, and you can also see it's all kind of compressed in there. So when we take our temp, we want to go to the thickest part. So we're going to go right down here into the thickest part of the breast. And we see that we're hitting at 157, 160, perfect. We're going to go into the thickest part of the leg. We're at 167, 165. And then we're going to go down here into the thigh. Let's see if we can get that on the camera better. Here, let's do it on this side. Then we're going to go into the thigh. And we're in the 160. Let's go down in there a little deeper. Oh. In 163. So we're done. So now that this has come out of the oven, we're going to cover it with some foil. And we're just going to let that bird rest. Just go set it on top of a warm stove. That's all we got to do with it. This has been going for about 20 minutes. No, maybe less than that. Maybe about 15 minutes. Not long. But we're going to talk about how we can tell if our potatoes are done and ready to go. So we're going to grab one of the biggest pieces we can find. I'm going to stick a fork in it and twist it. If we have to twist it and we feel crunch or we feel something push back, it's not done. If it breaks apart like this, we're done. So it looks like we're doing well. We're done. So we're going to take now and get a little strainer. Strain it off of the water off, but keep it in the pan. And the reason we want to keep it in the pan is so that we can work with the warm milk and some of the other things as we continue to work through this process. So we're going to take this off. Machine didn't like it. Put it back on. Turn it down to low. Put this back in there. I hear a little sizzle. That's fine. We're going to take our little mixer. Now, if you have a potato masher, it works just as well. Break these all up. So you can see, doesn't take long. Broke it up real quick. We're going to take our spoon. We've got a little bit of butter here. I'm going to take some of our butter. Put it in there. This is the milk. Put that in there. French chef I know has a recipe where he puts equal parts cream and butter to potatoes by weight. And Hands down, the greatest mashed potatoes I've ever had. This one is not quite so rich, but it'll be well. So you can see right now that it's already looking like what mashed potatoes should look like. A little stiff. Mashed potatoes, as they cool down, the gluten that is, or the starch that is in there gets hot and it gets loose. When the starch starts to cool off, it tightens up. So as you let this sit, it's going to tighten up. That's why when you make mashed potatoes on the stove and you think, oh, these are perfect, this is going to be great, this is what I want, and then you go to serve them and they're heavy and cakey. So we're going to throw just a little more in there because we're going to let this sit for a few minutes. We're going to set this on low. And let it set aside for a minute. We're going to come over here. We're going to hit this on medium, get it started. We're going to put just a little bit of water in this pan as well because we want to start to steam cook the carrots. Put our carrots in there. We're going to let those come up and steam about 10 minutes. This should be the point of time where you're starting to think about when we're ready to start being serving, because that's going to be about 20 minutes away. So we're going to let these come up and steam. Talk about that, but we'll be right back. All right, we're at about, 10, 15 minutes on this. We can see they're starting to steam up. They're starting to get color. They're not quite tender enough yet. That's going to happen as we kind of break it down, add a little bit more water to it, keep it covered. We're going to work on our gravy real quick. So we're going to put in an equal amount of butter to flour. I'm going to take that, get that melted off. This does not take very long. So it's equal part size. So if it's 2 tablespoons of butter, you're going to get 2 tablespoons of flour. So put a little bit of that in here, let it get melted down. Add the flour in there. Stir that around. Let it get all incorporated. It's going to be a little thick like a paste. That's fine. This is kind of what we're looking for. I'm going to let that sit on here for a minute or two more, let it cook. In the meantime, we've strained off our little bit of jus and juice left over. A little bit of fat in there. That's why we made this a little thicker. If you've made these at home, this is called a roux. It's a French version that basically just means flour and fat. So we've let the roux do it. The roux is a little chunkier than a traditional roux, but that's only because we've got some oil and some fat from the turkey juice in here. So we're going to set this up on high. May need to add a little bit more water to our carrots to continue to let them steam. Just pour that right on top. We're waiting for this to come up to a boil. So what we'll do is we'll switch this over here. We'll put this on here. Go to high on that one. Go down to medium on that one. This should let it get up nice and boiling quick. If you want to get rid of some of the fat that's in there and it's too much for you, again, that's fine. I have family members that are not big fans of a lot of fat. Just take a little ladle, submerge it down to where you just see the fat filling in there, and you take some of that off. So then we've just brought all the fat out of there. And take a little bit more off. Now, I have family members that would kill me for doing that, but hey. And take a little bit of our turkey seasoning. Remember our turkey seasoning from earlier? A little bit of that left. Throw that in there for flavor. Starting to see some movement in here. We can throw a little bit of this in here now. Notice at the end, everything starts happening faster and faster. Now, this is a great time to where you can start inviting folks in the kitchen to start helping set tables, put plates out, whatever you might need them to do. And this gives you time to kind of stay focused on your food. There we go. Now we're starting to see it bubble up. You can see the ring there starting to get but we need this to be at a boil. We can't put flour in this until it starts to boil. Otherwise, it just gets clumpy and lumpy, and that's no good. Nobody likes that. If you do get clumpy, if you do get the clumpy gravy, grab your blender. Just throw it in a blender and puree it. So here we go. We're coming up. I'm going to turn this down. We're going to take a little bit, mash it into our spatula, start stirring. Stir until all that is done. And you'll feel it gradually thicken up. I'm going to take a little bit more, put it in there. Turn the temp back up because we want to kind of keep it boiling. You can already see, if it's not boiling, you could already see some of the lumps starting to work their way in there. That's not good. Final little bit. Put that in there. Stir it some more. Get that all dissolved. Turn that down and let it simmer for a few minutes. Now, let's look and see what our carrots are doing. They're getting a little softer. So we're going to take the lid off. Let's get this up on high. We can get this on medium so we can bring it back to a boil and let it continue to boil. You see it's starting to thicken up. The reason we're going to let it boil like that is we kind of want to let the flour cook out of there. That'll have a little bit of a pasty flavor to it. So we're trying to let that cook out of there, and then we're going to let the water cook out of here. So we put that back up on high. And then we're going to come back and we're going to finish up the carrots, and then we're going to be plating up. Okay, so we have this beautiful spread laid out. I kind of want to talk about what we're looking at here. We've got those pretty glazed carrots. We garnished it with a little bit of our parsley that we have as a garnish. We took and cut up our meat. We've got some scraps here. If we want, we can take and we can slice this up so people can help themselves. We've got nice mashed potatoes drizzling in butter, which is what everybody likes. We've got our gravy that I've actually had to keep my staff away from, as you saw earlier. So let's go ahead and get plated up. First, we're going to make our little fun cocktail. So I have got some Canada Dry Diet Ginger Ale. Going to put some of that in there. We're going to take some cranberry juice. If you're so inclined, you can throw a little bit of some vodka in there. And that is our drink. And then we're ready to plate up. So I'm going to get a little bit of mashed potatoes on here. A little bit of gravy on that. Grab a carrot. Ooh, this looks so good. A few pieces of turkey. A little gravy on the turkey. And we're going to try. So here, mashed potatoes. Oh, man. Nice juicy turkey. Perfectly cooked mashed potatoes. Perfectly cooked carrots. Really sweet carrots. Always are really good. Super thirsty. The mint adds a nice touch. You can crush the cranberries in the bottom of it, or you can crush it like you would a mojito. Great to do. So good. All right. Let's talk about the next shot. We're going to do, the next video is going to be salmon cakes. So stay tuned for that. And then the tips, tricks after this is going to be how to carve a turkey. So pay attention. Stick around. We'll see you next time. Carving a turkey. It is simple if you follow a couple of very easy thoughts on this. For starters, the turkey is two halves. So right down the middle, we have a bone, little cartilage right here, breast here, leg, thigh, wing. And when we're carving these turkeys, we kind of want to think about that, and we want to set it up to have a display. So first thing we'll do is take off our little piece back here, and then we're going to go after the leg. So we're going to take right here along the leg, we're going to cut in. See how juicy it's gotten? Just let it sit for a while. Those juices will start to come up, go down a little bit more, come across here, come down. Pull the leg back, go into the leg right there. Now, some people will tell you as well that, oh, that looks bloody, that's not cooked enough. Frozen chicken will sometimes have some of the marrow that is in the bone seep out as it's freezing, and it gets in out there and it has that reddish color. That is not blood. That is just part of the chicken, and that's some of the byproduct as the meat has cooked. So we've temped it. We know we're right because the temperature told us. We can't tell by looking at the eye. If we'd done this by the eye, we would say, oh, this isn't done. Well, this is actually a perfectly done chicken. So right here in the bone, you can see that that's where the two bones have connected, and there's just a little bit of some connective tissue there. Just take our knife, and you see I'm not using a very big knife. It's a small one, and we're just going to cut that out. And we're going to lay those two onto the platter. Okay? Now, if you look at the top, you'll see a bit of a seam running right down the middle. So we're going to take our knife, our sharp knife, remember, and we're going to kind of find that bone, and you'll feel it. It's just right below the skin surface. And then we're going to go on either side of it, all the way down this way, all the way down this way. And then we're going to do it on this side as well. We're going to go all the way down this way and all the way down that way. We're going to take our tong, we're going to put it down in there, we're going to pull it back and expose so we can see where it has gotten some exposed to the meat. I'm going to get a little more light on here as well. There we are. So we're going to take this back, we're going to peel it back here, we're going to take our knife, and then we're going to see down in the middle there, we're going to see where it connects down into the breastbone. So that's basically the rib cage. There's a rib cage right underneath this breastplate, or these breast meat. I'm going to kind of keep slicing it slowly, nothing major, nothing fast, and that lobe will just come right off. Please don't be intimidated by this. It just takes some time. And then we can just pull that whole breast off. So we'll do it again on this side. We're going to go all the way down, find this part along here. This is, keep coming down, keep slicing, keep coming down, keep slicing, keep coming down. And we're going to go underneath. If it doesn't pull, you just got to kind of keep slicing at it. And then we have our second laid out. Then we're going to come down here. We're going to find where the thigh meets up here. We're going to pull that out, go down inside, and that'll pop right out. So we're having a little trouble with this right now. So what we'll do is we're going to take this, pick it up, drain some of those juices. You see all that? We're going to see that later for gravy. We have a cookie sheet that we have laid our cutting board in to catch any drippings so that we're not cross-contaminating anything here. And then we're just going to turn this beast on its side, pop it out, pop it down in, get under it, lay it in there. And we're going to do the same thing with the other side. Turn it over, let the knife find its way. The knife will guide you where it needs to go. If you're slicing in and you're stopped, back up. That's just the bone telling you can't cut there. Find where the bone connects, get underneath it, and away you go. Just keep cutting. It'll show you where it needs to cut. If you got to pull it back just a little bit, there we go. So now we have the other thigh. Now, how pretty is that? I'm going to give you a chef secret. When I was at Walt Disney World, I had a chef named Rolf Gosweiler, who was from Austria. Loved the man. He was very, very smart. We used to do rotisserie chickens. Remember, we talked about 2 tons of rotisserie chicken a day. He would come down as we were cutting up and tying the rotisserie chicken, and he would always go over because we would cut along the back here, and we'd cut the backbone out and splay it up. Well, on the side of the backbone and back here, you're going to find about a quarter of the way down, you're going to find this little piece of meat right here. That's called a tenderloin. And if you love someone so much that you want to share it with them, I'd go right ahead. However, let me see if I can get, God, that's so good. Best part of the turkey, and since you're the one in charge of carving it, you should be the one that gets to eat it. Wow. We have some of the wings on here. We have some other meat. So we can start going in there and just tearing some of that meat off. Back here, you're wondering where the wishbone is. You got kids that are kind of asking about that. The wishbone is going to be right here in the back. Let's see if we can get that to pop out. We're going to go under because we know the bone is right here. We're going to go under the bone and come up. Go on the other side. Go on the bone, come up. Pop that out. Take some of the meat off. Clean all that off of there. You know, the wishbone. And some of the excess meat. So there we are. Carving 101. Very easy. Just takes a little bit of practice and some anatomy knowledge of birds.